Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Robin Kelly, a family doctor who's particularly concerned about the rollout of 5G and the exposure that we've all had to existing non-ionizing radiation, radio frequency radiation. This is really a short video to encourage people because I think there's good things happening. I see a definite shift. I see mainstream beginning to report the concerns of the public about the safety of this. It's far from balanced yet, but it's getting there. I can see the telecommunication companies being defensive now. They're still adopting the rather pathetic ploys they had before of really accusing all those who were concerned about this as being tinfoil hat conspiracists, and they're still somehow and very bizarrely blaming social media for spreading bad news. I find that amazing, as both the mainstream media and the telecommunication companies are presumably heavily invested in social media, and in fact the whole move in the last 30 years was this that the public were exposed to all this information. That's how they've made all their money. So I find that bizarre. Maybe we shouldn't call them mainstream media, we should call them anti-social media. Maybe I'll begin to call that there. What they're doing, their tactics now, because that media, anti-social media, is in fact, as you know, the propaganda wing for the telecommunication companies. They are as one as, unfortunately, are the government advisors. They all seem to be one. What they've done, they're trying to do, because it's good to sell, I suppose, their product, is divide us into those who, intelligent people who know the science, and the unintelligent people like us who don't. And that the scientists know everything, as do the agencies like World Health and ICNIRP, and we should just follow them blindly. And that evidence-based science is everything. Now I have to say that evidence-based science is important, and in fact if you look at all the evidence you'll see tremendous debate between the scientists about the safety and otherwise of non-ionizing radiation, with a general agreement then that non-ionizing radiation has non-thermal effects, and that the safety standards and levels that imposed on us and other countries are inadequate. That's a general consensus, but you're never going to get universal consensus, and that's not what happens in science. And also we have to realise science is never settled, and what we're actually seeing is scientists who are actually falling into the trap of confirmation bias and using the media to convince and to further compound this confirmation bias, which is totally anti-science. So the scientists are beginning to behave very unscientifically and saying some rather strange things. Yesterday in New Zealand Herald there was this article which said the PM's chief science advisor weighs in on 5G controversy, which is good in itself because they're admitting that it's controversial. Of course, the business writer Chris Keel, who I've communicated before and explained to him my disappointment of why healthcare professionals are not being allowed to comment on his column. Anyway, he starts by saying 5G won't harm bees, interfere with NIWA's weather forecasts, or damage your health. It's a dogmatic statement. Okay. And of course that's not true. He knows it's not true as well. And so he then covers himself, well, that's the message from a new website set up by the Prime Minister's chief science advisor, who is Professor Juliet Gerard, who says something slightly different. She actually says, hedges a bet somewhat and probably protects her for future liability by saying the currently available scientific evidence makes it extremely unlikely that there will be any adverse effects on human or environmental health. So she's saying, I'm just thinking it's extremely unlikely. Now, she's one of many scientists. Some scientists say that, but there are many who say the opposite. And so I'll listen to her, and she could well be telling her truth from her scientific specialty. But we've got to do a lot better than that. I don't want to listen to her, or even World Health or ICNIRP, who we know are people who have been privately elected. They're not public bodies. We need to be far more thorough than she is being, for the sake of our families, our children, and my patients, for instance. The actual new government document is full of classic cherry picking and compounding confirmation bias, as I've said, very unscientific. I'll give you one example of many. And under the FAQ, frequently asked questions, there is this: why have scientists petitioned against 5G? Question, and the answer being, there are various international petitions against 5G that have been signed by people, including some scientists. However, as NZ and international reviews and research have found, it is unlikely, that goes from highly unlikely or very unlikely to, from extremely unlikely to just to unlikely, that exposure within NZ limits is associated with adverse effects. It is unlikely. Actually, you'll probably realise they haven't answered the question, why have scientists petitioned against 5G? Because they have studied the science and they're very concerned, and they are adopting the precautionary principle. What is the precautionary principle? And this is UNESCO's definition, a very short one. When human activities may lead to morally unacceptable harm that is scientifically plausible but uncertain, actions shall be taken to avoid or diminish that harm, which is basically the move to health and safety now. So not only are we following evidence-based science, but we're putting it into perspective. We're understanding who is actually producing this science, what conflicts of interest they have. Science is based on the past, not the future. So we're actually saying, let's gather all the science, let's look at it, and then just see if it's actually safe. And we're actually asking now, or demanding of the telecommunications companies, it's not up to us to prove to you that it is unsafe. It is up to you to prove that it is safe. The tide is turning. Well done, everybody. I'll see you later. Bye.